Let's get more now on what will happen today and what is ahead in this case. Chandelle Summer, former Fulton County public defender and former assistant DA, joining us now live here on set. A lot to get through. I mean, this is your world. You speak legalese.
Yes.
So for everyday folks out there trying to get a handle on this case, explain the significance of today, but also the significance of with 19 defendants and debates about state, federal, tried together, tried separately, hurry up, no, slow down. There are a lot of competing dynamics depending on each individual's level of legal exposure. How does all of that get massaged into something coherent here?
Good morning, Rob. Today's waiver of arraignments is really of no legal consequence. It's done in most cases. Most defendants are going to waive their right to arraignment. So the thing that's interesting about this case is the way that it seems to be dissecting amongst different groups charged with different types of crimes. Right now you have some suggestion that the fake electors were acting at the behest of the president. So they seem to be sort of placing the blame on President Trump. That could result in their entering into some type of plea bargain with the prosecution to try to get lighter sentences. You also have Chesebro and Sidney Powell now competing to have separate trials because of the fact that they've both asked for accelerated trials under the Georgia Speedy Trial Demand Act. So if those trials are severed, and of course Chesebro is the one who's moving to sever it because he doesn't want to be associated with the allegations against Sidney Powell. You also
they want to be severed. Right. They don't want to be together.
They want to be tried
Interesting
separately.
subplot.
It's situationship.
Yeah. Then you have also the Mark Meadows and Jeffrey Clark and some of the federal agents who've asked that their case be moved to federal court. So it's possible that this case could be dissected into little pieces, and that's what the prosecution doesn't want. They want to keep it all together to try to show this was all one conspiracy to try to overthrow the 2020 election.
And kind of walk our viewers through why the prosecution does not want that. What will that then do to DA Willis's case if they are severed and they do get that today? How much harder is it going to be for her, especially when it comes to that RICO statute?
Well, first of all, with the speedy trial demand defendants, Chesebro and Sidney Powell, if those cases are not won, that takes some of the wind out of her sails. Then she's left with a lot of other pieces of cases, whereas Jack Smith's got one case up in Washington, D.C. That's the one that's likely to go forward first. So it's not going to have as much attention down here in Georgia if he's either convicted in Washington or if he's not convicted in Washington. That also would take some of the momentum out of the Georgia case. There's been a lot of criticism about the fact that this is costing so much money for the Fulton County taxpayers. And the prosecution has hired 3 outside counsel who are just attorneys in private practice who are coming in to help the district attorney's office, who has to have an incredible amount of staff devoted to this particular case. And you know, there's other crimes going on in Fulton County, so there's a lot of pressure on Fani Willis to get this right. And if it's dissected into little pieces, she's going to have a harder time proving the conspiracy.
As a Fulton County taxpayer, thanks for making that, making that point. But it also speaks to a bigger issue. I assume at some level the DA had to anticipate each of these defendants would make a move. Hurry up, slow down, state, federal, speedy trial, or whatever the case may be. So none of this, I assume, shocked her or her office here. But it speaks to something that's been talked about so much. Jack Smith in D.C. had a very simple case. Just Trump, 4 charges. Fani Willis said, no, I'm going for everybody. 19 with 41 counts, and wants to try them together and wanted to do it, have a trial start within 6 months. Scalpel versus hammer. Did she make it so big that it's going ultimately to make things so complicated, it's not the ideal prosecution she would want? Was this too big a bite?
You're absolutely right, Rob. She cast a wide net, and now it's splintering. It's splintering into different groups. And he, like you said, is hitting with a hammer, and she's trying to use a scalpel. The problem is he's going first, and then she's going to be left with the remains. And not to mention the fact that it's not necessarily a proven, or it's not necessarily a done deal that Trump is going to stay in state court. He's going to probably seek to remove his case to federal court as well, along with Mark Meadows and some of the other defendants who've asked for removal. And the thing about that is a very strong argument, in my opinion, for removal of these cases because of the fact that the president has an obligation as the leader of the executive branch to ensure fair and accurate elections. And under the federal code, voting machines and the accuracy of voting machines are covered by 18 U.S.C. 1080. And that is under the jurisdiction of the FBI. The FBI is under the jurisdiction of the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice reports to the president. So they have a very strong claim for removal to federal court. So if he's removed to federal court, I don't think anybody's going to be paying attention.
So you think that it's likely then that he will get that granted because he motioned for that in New York as well, right? And that was denied. So do you think that in this situation it may play different?
Well, the New York removal petition, like you said, was denied, and that's because of the fact that that involved the hush money payments to the Stormy Daniels. And that seems to be outside the scope of federal work, to be paying hush money, to be involved in with someone in a very risque type of situation. So I think that was pretty much expected. But this is different because this is within his federal authority to make sure that the country has fair and accurate results in the elections. So it does fall within the federal jurisdiction.
And then I imagine a lawyer will make the point, there's a difference between wanting to ensure integrity and pressuring officials to turn things your way.
And to find votes.
There is a line between those two things. So, but I'm no lawyer, but anyway, there's so much to get into. We're out of time for today, but please come back as we know this story will be around a while. So we appreciate your expertise.
Thank you, Rob.